Hey humans, Coach Mindy here with your first workout of 2021 with FīND DRīV. Today we have New Year Strong. 5 rounds, 4 time of the following. You're starting out with 21 ground to overhead into 1 minute high plank, 21 hollow rocks, 1 minute of an elbow plank, 21 double presses, back to a minute of high plank, 21 weighted sit-ups, and then closing out each round with 1 minute of elbow planks. So per round you have 4 minutes of just planking, 5 rounds, so that's quite a bit of time right out of the gate. So we're going to get into this pretty quick. 2 rounds of your warm-up, 10 reps each, starting out with good mornings. Feet hips width apart, fingertips by your ears, pinch your shoulder blades together, soft bend the knee, and hinge. Reminder that we're keeping that chest up, eye on the horizon. If you have a logo on your shirt, I should be able to read it. Then we're going to go into 10 total ostrich walks, stepping forward, dorsiflexing that foot, hinging down, reaching towards the ground, standing all the way up, and then change sides. And we're going to step our feet out to our squat stance, which is shoulder width apart. You can have your fingertips by your ears or arms up overhead, hips go back and down, pushing those knees out hard, standing all the way up for 10 air squats. Then we're going to grab either the dumbbells you intend to use for the workout or slightly lighter, and we're going to do 10 dumbbell deadlifts. So your feet are going to be pretty narrow inside of your hips. You're going to hinge forward, grabbing one end of the dumbbell so only one end touches the ground. Hips are slightly elevated, so we're not down into a squat. We're a little bit higher. Chest up, eye on the horizon. Stand up straight, squeeze your butt, squeeze your gut. Tap the ground right by your pinky toe. And then all the way up from the side, it's going to look like this. Even though our hips are slightly elevated, we want to make sure we don't get a rounded back. Keep that back flat, that midline stable. Then you're going to bring those dumbbells to your shoulders. Elbows pointing straight ahead, not at the ground. Squeeze your butt, squeeze your gut. Punch hard overhead for 10 shoulder presses. Dumbbells can go to the side, and we're going to do 10 down dog push-ups. So start out in high plank, wrists underneath your shoulders, feet hips width apart. Rocking back into a down dog, try to drive those heels towards the ground. Rock back forward, chest to the ground, and back. Once we get started, your feet and your hands should never change position. If you need to, when you rock forward, lower those knees to the ground, chest to the ground, back up. 10 reps there. And then rolling over for 10 sit-ups. Legs can be straight, knees bent, or butterfly for these, or maybe just try a mixture of all of them. Whichever one you choose, we just want to make sure that chest comes past the hip crease and that back stays flat and we're not rounding out. So that's your warm-up. 10 total reps each, 2 times through to get you ready for New Year Strong. Again, this is a bit of a longer workout, so give yourself enough time. The high plank and the elbow plank we'll go ahead and review now so we don't have to do it each time. High plank, hands underneath the shoulder, feet hips width apart, pushing hard against the ground. Don't let your hips sink, and don't go into a pike. Nice flat back, staring at the ground about 6 inches in front of you. Set your timer, 1 minute of high plank. Elbow plank, everything is identical. The only difference is your elbow is beneath your shoulders instead of your hands. One thing to watch out for here is sinking. It's a lot more common on the elbow plank, so make sure you're pushing hard into the ground with your elbows. Set your timer, 1 minute each for all of those. The goal would be to do them unbroken, but if you can't, try to make it halfway, stop your clock, and then get the next 30 seconds. All right, our first movement is going to be a dumbbell ground to overhead. So our feet are going to be about our squat stance, shoulder width apart. You're going to have one end of the dumbbell in your hand, not grabbing into the center. It's going to point down from here. Looks like this. So we start off with kind of a dumbbell deadlift. Hips are slightly elevated. Eye on the horizon from here. You're going to stand tall, squeeze your butt, squeeze your gut. As soon as you're fully upright, then it's a tight curl and press overhead. Elbows come forward and down to lower. You do not hinge until your arms are straight. So in slow motion, it looks like this. Some things to watch for with the ground to overhead is starting to curl the weights before you're fully standing, or rounding out and straightening our legs before we bring the weights with us. So shoulders and hips rise at the same time, punch overhead. The next thing that can happen is we start to hinge without our arms being straight. So just remember, legs, arms, arms, legs. You've got 21 reps there. Then your next movement after a high plank for a minute is our hollow rock. Hollow rocks look like this. So to get into that position, we start in that crunch each time. So knees come into our chest, shoulders and head come off the ground, arms go overhead. From here, we can extend both legs, or if that's a little bit too much and we find that either our shoulders and our head lower or our back starts to arch, we can do one leg at a time. And then maybe we can do half the rocks with one leg extended, half the rocks with the other. We don't want to alternate because that could get a little bit sloppy. Whichever way you choose, both legs out, just make sure it's a nice hollow position, our legs don't get too high, and just make sure that we're doing this with control. We want our abs to be doing the push and the pull, not a really large rock where we're using momentum and not our body to achieve that rock. So you're going to do 21 reps for that. Then we have our double press. Double press is essentially a burpee with dumbbells in your hands. So it's going to look like this. So, just like with a burpee, we're going to go to the ground first. We're just going to have dumbbells in our hands or just outside of our hands. Really key point here is to make sure our feet stay outside of our hands when we're going down and when we're coming back up. Also be sure that your dumbbells are far enough apart so you don't land on them. Doesn't feel that great. So hands down, feet jump back, or feet can step back to the knees, chest to the ground, press up, pop your knees up, and from here you can either jump forward with your feet outside of the dumbbell, or you can step forward. Then from this position, just like with the ground to overhead, hips and shoulders rise at the same time, squeeze the butt, squeeze the gut, punch overhead, and then reverse. Those are our double presses. And then your final movement is going to be a weighted sit-up. So for this, you just take one of those dumbbells that you've been using, hold it in tight to the chest. For this, we can do legs straight or knees bent, just those two. Keep it in tight to the chest, sitting all the way up, keeping that back flat, and that chest passes the hip crease. Really important with this, not to extend or throw that weight away from us and using that to counterbalance, because then that's taking some of the effort out of our abs, and it can put it in our neck and shoulder places we don't want. So, holding that dumbbell tight to your chest, sitting all the way up, control it down. 21 reps there. So in between each movement of 21 reps, you have either high plank hold or an elbow plank hold, 5 rounds, 4 time. So it's going to take a little while, but it's going to be a great workout. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy New Year.